and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello and welcome. We'll begin by reviewing the draft minutes of our previous meeting, which was held on January 22nd, 2024. I make a motion to approve the draft minutes. Would a member second? I'll second. Thanks, Patricia. All in favor? Aye. Approved without amendment. We're going to review tonight's agenda. We have one public hearing. It is for 4021 New York 2. It's a use variance that will begin at 6:15. We have 4 new business items, not necessarily in this order. We have Green Street seeking an area variance, 24 Oxford Circle seeking an area variance, 25 Old State Route 142 seeking an area variance, and the corner of New York 7 and Carroll's Grove Road also seeking an area variance. So I'd like to ask the applicants for 24 Oxford Circle, if they're prepared, they can come up to the podium here. Introduce yourself, the project that you're proposing. We're going to look through the materials to see if it's complete for holding a public hearing at our next meeting. So we'll have questions for you, and you may have some questions for us too.
Okay. Thank you. My name's Bob Hatt. I live at 24 Oxford Circle. I'm looking to replace and sustain a 6x8 shed and with a much larger 12x24 shed. I'm looking to have it placed basically right next to where the existing one is, which is in the back of the property. I'm looking for basically 3 feet off of my fence, which is the property line. There really isn't a lot of other options for me as far as other locations, because I do have a raised septic system that was put in 2 years ago. There really isn't any other place that can work.
Okay. So the required setback for the rear in this R15 zoning district is 20 feet, and you're proposing 3 feet. Okay. So what's going on in the back of the property that only allows it to be 3 feet off the setback? So I'm looking at this picture that you provided in the materials packet. Yep. It seems to be the best idea of what's kind of going on. So that shade looks like a shaded area. It's like that gray color. It's the same color as the driveway. Yeah.
So that area is when we had the septic system done.
Okay.
So that's all just no grass or anything at that time that photo was taken.
Right.
The other area, so basically that's the top of the mound, and then it drops off, and so then there's a little bit of a flat area. So in order for the rainwater to kind of run around where the shed needs to be, there's just a couple feet in front of it, kind of a flat area to be able to like get my lawn tractor and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that the property line is fenced. So is there room within that 3 feet to maintain that piece of property, that 3-foot property? I'm not sure if there's trees there, if grass is able to grow, would that grass need to be mowed? Or how can
I mean, I can be back behind the existing shed, but for the most part, nothing grows because there's so much shade there from my neighbor's trees.
Okay, yeah.
What kind of a fence is it?
It's a chain link fence.
So it's open.
It's open.
So in this picture here, is this your neighbor's house right here?
That's their garage. They
That's
have a
it.
detached garage.
And that's Brunswick Road.
That's Brunswick Road, correct.
And you mentioned in the application materials that the new shed will sit on a 6-inch slab.
Correct.
Is that going to be a new slab or is that the existing slab?
Use that.
Do any of the members have any other questions at this time? Mr. Patton? Okay, yeah, well, thank you. I think it's a really well put together application. And it looks complete for the purposes of holding a public hearing, which we'll have at our March meeting.
Okay.
And offhand, I don't have the date. I have it counted. March. I have a date for our next meeting. Well, I wish it is a calendar here.
It'd be the 18th. No holidays on the 18th.
18th, right, and no holidays. So it'll be Monday, the 18th,
First month of that.
and we'll begin at 6 p.m.
Okay.
If you have any questions in the meantime, you can direct it to the building department and they can get it out to us, or if anything comes up, please stay in communication with the building department.
Okay. You'll be notifying my neighbors that I've submitted in the application to be able to give them an opportunity to come at the next hearing.
That's right, and it can be a spoken comment or written. They can send in an email, a letter, something like that.
Okay.
If you're comfortable doing. Do we have permission to come and visit the site? Do the zoning board members have permission to come and look at the
Yes.
site? Okay, thank you. Yeah, most likely we'll give you a heads up ahead of time, with a phone call in the neighborhood, can I stop by?
Yep. Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much. We'll see you next month.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Right. Something for the finance.
It's a open public hearing at 6:15 or so.
Okay. All right. Mm. Just wait. Yeah. I have more questions. Yeah, exactly. Mhm. Because we have 5 minutes until 6:15, and it's been noticed to the public that the public hearing begins at 6:15, we'll begin at 6:15, so please put up with us for 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, so the zoning board will open the public hearing on the application. This is for 4021 New York State Route 2, it's a use variance. Ask our attorney, the board's attorney, Mr. Gilchrist, to read the public hearing posting. And will note that it was published in Eastwick Press, which is the official newspaper of the municipality. It was placed on the town signboard, posted on the town website, and mailed to all owners of adjacent property within 300 feet.
Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the zoning board of appeals of the town of Brunswick at 6:15 p.m. on Monday, February 26, 2024, at the Brunswick Town Hall, 336 Town Office Road, Brunswick, New York, 12180, concerning the application for a use variance submitted by Daniel Hagberg for property located at 4021 NYS Route 2. The applicant seeks the use variance to bring self-storage structures currently on the property into compliance with the Brunswick zoning law. Copies of the variance application are available at the Brunswick Town Hall and are available for public inspection during regular business hours. All interested persons will be heard at the public hearing.
Thank you very much. To the applicant, have there been any changes to the application?
Nope.
Okay. Would you want to just give us a brief overview of the project, please?
Sure.
Thanks.
We acquired the property, 2021. Unbeknownst to us, a subset of the storage was not properly permitted. And then since most of the storage was erected, the property zoning has changed from where it was formerly to Hamlin. Hamlin doesn't permit self-storage as a permitted use, so we're coming forward looking to rectify that, get the existing storage on site properly permitted, or get a use variance to be properly permitted.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against this application? Well, come on up and do that now, please. Mike, has the building department received any written comments on this application?
No.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the zoning board members this time?
And nothing from the public, but they did have that county, you did get that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, right, yeah, so what Mike was referring to, for the record, Rensselaer County Bureau of Economic Development and Planning has weighed in. and determined that proposal does not have any major impact on county plans and that a local consideration shall prevail. Thanks.
The only question that I had was on, the unpermitted storage units that are along the back part of the property. Do they meet the setback requirement?
Good question. I don't know the answer about that. So show this.
I can't read it because
Hard to read, but
because
then
it's so small.
Is it 30 foot is the setback?
This is 15 foot.
Yeah, but where's the 30-foot setback?
Right through the middle of it.
Right through the middle of where the storage units are.
Yeah, if 30 feet, my gut is no, they don't along the back line. If I'm reading the survey correctly.
You don't think so?
Again, I'm looking at, as far as I read this, at 30 feet, it looks like the back, no, they're not. They're partially in, partially out, so no.
So could they be relocated to meet the 30-foot setback?
Potentially, I mean, they can be moved. It's hard to move, like, you have to clear one out. You can't move, I could move them with people's belongings in them, but I guess in theory, yes, they could potentially move it. It's just a subset of them.
So 8, is that what you're counting? There are 8 of them?
Yeah,
So 8.
I wonder, 2 of those could be tough, just, with the, the proximity to the other building with the drive lane, but in theory, it could be done. I guess especially if we could, we could potentially move some up into that blank area, that would obviously require reconfiguring the site plan, but I think theoretically, yes, it could be done.
Because if they were moved up, would those other units then jeopardize access to the ones that you're moving? That's their front.
Yeah, it'd be tough to put them in line with the others because of the doors are configured.
Right.
It'd be possible to put them, almost facing, if that makes sense.
Turn them and have them around.
Potentially, you could think like this is all blank space,
Mhm.
so you could potentially put some there.
Yeah, because these are not in compliant
I
because
understand.
they don't meet the 30-foot setback.
Are all the units occupied on the site?
I couldn't tell you for sure, the vast majority are. I can't tell you 100% assurance that all those are occupied, but largely yes.
So would this be an addendum to the application or would you handle something that comes up?
It's really an applicant option, but the issue's been raised. Right now, that's pending in front of you is a use variance to allow the use.
Correct.
The area issue is a separate issue. Right now, there's no pending application for an area variance. If an area variance is not pursued, you can still entertain the use variance, but you still have a non-compliance issue in terms of the setback, and they need to reconfigure the site. Alternatively, you could say, we want to keep the units where they are currently located, and that would be an additional variance application for an area variance.
Okay.
Now, this does raise an issue, which is Understand there is an approved site plan for the site that covers a number, in fact, most of the storage units on site. There is not an approved site plan for the entire site. In the event this board considers and does approve the use variance to allow the use, there still will need to be a site plan amendment in front of the planning board. That could include a reconfiguration of the site to meet the setbacks. That's an option.
Mhm.
But if the applicant says it really does impact the flow and customer access to the units, we want to keep them where they are, it does raise that compliance issue in terms of setback.
Sure. I mean, I guess I would defer to the board here. I mean, of course, my preference is to keep them as is, recognizing I want them to be compliant. But in my mind, don't we need to cross the hurdle of the use variance first?
Well, you certainly can.
I guess my concern is if we go and amend it, and we come back and decide the use isn't permitted, I'm jumping through hoops to find out that it's kind of moot anyways. Am I thinking of that correctly?
No, you are. You're correct. There's some work associated with an area variance application that in the event the board determines not to grant the use variance, that ends the inquiry.
Sure.
The setbacks are relevant.
Right, of course.
It will add, in the event you want to keep them where they're located, it will simply add more time to the review process because the next step would be the area variance consideration before you could then proceed to the planning board to have the site plan review. Because the planning board is not legally able to review a site plan that itself is not in compliance with the zoning.
Understood.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, at this point, I think it'd be in my interest to get an understanding of the use variance. Because again, I think without the use variance, it all becomes meaningless.
Right.
I agree.
So speaking for myself, I have no problem with pursuing the use variance as we had on the agenda. And then we can kind of see if we want to follow a pending area variance after a determination is made whether or not a use variance has been granted.
Thank you.
Would like to go that way as well? So that's the way that we will go.
Perfect, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Our public hearing is still open. I have an understanding from zoning board members that there are no other questions for the applicant at this time. I'll ask one more time if anyone else would like to come up and speak for or against the application. Hearing no public comment, I make a motion to close the public hearing. Would a member second?
A second.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing portion of this application is closed. The zoning board members are prepared to deliberate and act. We'll review the elements for consideration for a use variance. And for this use variance application, the board is asked to explain why the applicant cannot realize a reasonable return from the property without the use variance, as demonstrated by competent financial evidence. I just want to begin by saying that there's been a long-standing use of this property since October 2008, and has been for a self-storage facility. The board requested that the applicant submit financial information to support why the proposed use variance and to illustrate why a reasonable return from the property cannot be realized without the requested area variance. And I thought that the way that the applicant went about was unique to our recent history. So to me, I interpreted that given so instead of going after what was allowed in a hamlet district, the applicant went towards the demolition part. So what would it cost to demolish what's already there? And then, as seen in previous applications before the zoning board, we asked the applicants, and how much would it be to reconfigure, to remodel like an existing building? So from the demolition figures, I believe that the applicant has shown that it would not realize a positive financial return if this was asked of them.
I agree with that.
The board's asked to explain how the alleged hardship relating to the property is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. As the applicant stated, the hardship of the non-compliant storage unit stems from the town zoning law change in 2017. The applicant is seeking relief and wishes to continue that use, and that the hardship is limited to this parcel in this district. And the board is asked to describe why granting the requested area variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
Well, as you mentioned, the business has been there since 2008 because of the change of the variance law. But it's been there since 2008. Everybody that's around there is used to seeing it. So it's not going to change the character of it.
Yeah, thank you, John. And lastly, the board is asked to explain whether the alleged hardship has been self-created.
That's up. Some laws change, so it's just trying to get in compliance.
I agree with that too. And one note, the seeker, kind of skipped over the seeker review process. So this is a non-residential seeker review process. And in the application materials, there was a short environmental assessment form that was submitted. And under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, the board needs to review the information contained in the environmental assessment form in the application documents to determine whether, in the board's opinion, there is potential for at least one significant adverse environmental impact from the proposed action. So we know that the buildings that are non-compliant are going to remain there, that the applicant is asking for relief. I do not believe that there will be no significant adverse environmental impacts from this proposed action.
So we'll interpret that as the chair making a motion to adopt the negative declaration, so there'd be a second.
I would amend my second. I'll second. Thanks, Darrell. All in favor?
Aye.
So, going forward, if there's no other further deliberation, we can consider the balance between the applicant to the neighborhood in general, or should we, Andy, address the pending area variance at this time, or we'll go through with the use variance and come to that?
No, I think, again, the applicant has proposed the use variance, and you've deliberated on that. It is properly in front of you for determination. The record would note that there still is the setback issue, and the applicant can choose how he wants to address that, either through a site reconfiguration or application for an area variance. But the issue of the use variance is properly in front of you.
Okay, thank you. So then we'll do that. We'll consider the balance between the applicant and any benefit as weighed against any detriment to the community at large or the neighborhood in particular, to determined to grant the resident use variance.
I make a motion that we grant the use variance.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Carol. All in favor?
Aye.
So, noting that this history, the history of this property has been a little problematic with what previous boards have allowed. Would the board feel comfortable with our attorney drafting up, I guess, some sort of resolution of how the board voted?
There can certainly be a formal written decision that memorializes, it would be in the form of a resolution that memorializes your vote. I think it's beneficial for the project file and quite frankly beneficial for the applicants to have this in a separate written decision, not simply recited in the notes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. So I guess kind of going forward, we'll work with the building department on how we want to do the area variance for that rear setback.
Yep, understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
One thing we will need is a final flood elevation on that.
Sorry, say that again?
A flood elevation on that?
Got it.
Alright.
Like, you want the flood determination, you want actual
Yeah.
elevation?
Yeah, the elevations,
For the-
just
for
to
the-
make sure it's 2 feet above in that back corner.
Okay.
Okay, we have 3 new business applications that we'll go through. We'll start with the Green Street application. I asked the applicant to come forward, and if you just want to give us a preview, a brief overview of your project. And what we'll do is the zoning board members have the application in front of us. We'll go over it to determine its completeness for holding a public hearing at our next meeting in March. Any questions come up at this time, we'll address them to you. If you have any questions for us, you can ask at this time as well.
Thank you.
Kind of a little overview of your project, please.
Okay, good evening. My name is Anusa Masambo, and I had submitted this application about a month ago, so I'm here to actually state some revision to the application. My application is to build a single-family home on Green Street and on a 6,000 square foot lot that is non-conforming. The lot requirements are, minimum lot requirement is about 9,000 square feet, and mine is about 6,000 square feet. I had to revise the application because of the initial submission, the building, main floor of the building was actually below the required minimum. So I resubmitted the proposed building that I'm going to put up there. It does meet the setbacks on each side, left and right. We have 12.5 feet on each side, and then the front side has about 30 feet on setback, and the rear has about 34 feet setback. The total square footage of the house is 1,700 square feet. First floor with 865 square feet, and the upper floor 911 square feet.
What was the 800 and what?
It's 865 for the main floor,
And the upper floor is,
and that's 911. And I believe the maximum height average is 27 feet, which is This is a lot that's been sitting vacant and not utilized. So I purchased this lot I believe, I would say about a year, not year and some change ago, with intention to develop the piece of land. And hopefully, that brings in revenue to the town as well, as opposed to having a piece of land that sits without any development on it. In addition to that, the building itself will be conforming to the residential standards. So nothing out of the ordinary, to something that will actually fit with what's in the community. Yes, and I think that really sums.
Right, so this is the proposal in the R9 zoning district. And just to go over, I don't know if you want to go over the values under the required and proposed, I've done a lot of crossouts, scratch offs. You can see where the front, the required is 30, being proposed is 30, rear required is 30, being proposed is 34. The left and right setbacks, required is 10, is being proposed is 12.5.
It's the lot coverage, it says 20%, but I'm not understanding what is that number on the proposed part?
That looks like an error. Right, because that is the square footage. The 1776 is the number for the square footage of the house that you're proposing.
Correct.
Right, so I'm not sure that.
That's not correct, though, is it?
You see that,
It
Mike?
would just be 860. I
It would just
believe
be
Chuck
the
could fill that
base
out. It would be, 865, correct? Did that include the garage?
No, the 865 doesn't include the garage. The garage would make it the additional.
So probably 1,1200 square feet.
So, okay, so I have a question, because I have a number of questions.
Sure, it's time for questions.
Just for clarification, so I'm looking at this sketch, okay? And it is showing that from the front of the garage to the back of the house, it's 36 feet. And then the width of the house is 35 feet. So it also states that the depth of the lot is 100 feet deep. So if you take the 30-foot setback in the front, 36 feet for the house, and then the 30-foot setback in the rear,
It's 34, 36.
that's 96, so that leaves 4 feet, okay? So try to help me because this may get confusing. So then one of my questions, and this may be more for the building department,
99, right?
no,
You got
90,
30, 35, and 34?
no, 30, yeah, 35, 36, 30, and 30. So it's 96.
No, 34.
Front, no.
34 in the rear, right?
No, he's
Oh.
showing that he's required to have a 30-foot setback.
Yeah.
So he actually has 34. So so just follow me for a minute.
Okay.
There's a terrace on the back of the house. So that looks like what's the size of the terrace on the back of the house?
It was my understanding that it's just a house though, right?
But if you look at, okay, this is why I have the question, because
Okay.
if you look at I'll tell you the section of the zoning law. It's under architectural features, it's section 160-25D, and it says, on roof, steps, patio, or terrace, not less than 20 feet from the highway, right away, nor less than 10 feet from any side or rear lot line. So that tells me that that terrace has to be 10 feet from the rear lot line, if I'm interpreting that correctly.
According to the plan, it should be within the 44, so it's not past that. See that?
So you're saying,
Terrace is 44.
So how big is the terrace?
I don't.
It's 19, it looks like it's 19 feet wide, about 19 feet wide.
Yeah.
Because it's as wide as the garage, but I don't know how deep it is. On page 31.
but I would ask the question, is this application for the house and the terrace, or just the house?
This is for the house, so it includes the terrace.
It does include the terrace.
I just want to verify that the terrace is within that.
10 feet.
If within that 10 feet from the lot line.
Do you mind if I take a look at your copy?
Okay.
It's in around 15 feet.
You think
There's no
So
dimension.
you would still,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know, that's where,
So I see
It's a
what you mean
30-foot
now.
front,
I didn't know that they had that.
36.
It's- it should
He's
be
got, he's
34
got,
to the
the actual
got
building
34 to the
itself,
rear,
not
but
the
he needs
terrace
30.
is proposed, you know.
So that
This
can be
is
4
not
feet.
included.
well, no, the terrace can be
That's
10
just
feet.
there as,
I mean, if
The
we're not
terrace
counting
can be
that.
I could possibly have that, but this,
It's
this,
got 34 feet.
so we should take the terrace right
Terrace is
off the
off.
sketch.
right off the sketch.
It could be
Yeah,
14.
so I could simply note,
Yeah,
the question you pose about what is the required setback for the terrace, even if you propose to keep the terrace, is not a zoning board determination, it's initially a building department determination, so they'll have to review that and advise the board, if you want to keep the terrace, if you can just identify for the building department, if the terrace is included, is the terrace itself at least 10 feet from the rear lot line. That's a building department determination. If you want to pursue that, coordinate with the building department, and the building department can advise the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess I had another question too. What is, maybe this is another building department issue, and it's not for us either, I don't know. But the maximum percentage of the lot coverage,
That is likewise a building department determination
Okay.
in compliance with the zoning law, so
okay,
they can review that with the applicant in terms of the total square footage of the lot, and with the proposed structure, what's the lot coverage? And
okay.
that's a building
All right.
department.
And then would you like that number from the building department? Do you need to know that before we meet again?
Yeah, I would like to know.
Is that okay, Mike?
Yeah, tell you in 1 second.
Because it is part of the application, I
Sure.
have to put that on there.
All right, and Era, there's another number there.
So he would be over, he's at 1260, so if it's a 6,000 square foot lot, it would be 1,200 would be 20% coverage, correct?
Because of the
So he's
garage.
gonna be 60 feet over. If it's 36 by 35?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's 1,260 square feet, so you're gonna be 60 square feet over. The maximum that would be allowed would be 1,200, right?
I would be over.
Yes, you would be over by 60 square feet, because 20% lot coverage on a 6,000 square foot lot would be 1,200. And you're at 1,260.
He also does have a couple jets here. So
Yeah,
if you're doing
so-
a full 36 by 35, it's 1260, but he's got supposedly 27.
Yeah, we'll do the
square
exact,
feet
I'll
here.
do the exact floor
It's
plan
going to be really close.
tomorrow.
So could you get that value out to us, Mike, or?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Right, just for general purposes again, Pat, and for all the members. The zoning board's a board of limited jurisdiction, primarily appellate jurisdiction, although we do have the ability to render an interpretation on the appeal. And because of that, there does need to be an initial building department determination or order.
Mhm.
Once that's made, that would be binding unless the applicant seeks the appeal or seeks a variance. So that should be addressed initially by the building department and upon the review of the application.
Okay, yeah, because it is
That's
part
correct.
of what's put
That's
in
correct.
the application,
Yes.
so.
So not having that value, would you determine that this application is incomplete? Or would you still consider it complete for the purpose of holding a public hearing in March?
Oh, I would feel that it's complete, so we can hold the public.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant? And March 18th. So on March 18th, we'll hold a public hearing on this application. It'll start at 6:15 or after. Or the neighbors will be notified of that, and then they'll have the opportunity to come and speak for or against the application at our next meeting. And if any questions come up, you can address it to the building department, and they can help you do that.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Good night, we'll see you next month.
Ready? Good night.
Thank you, you too. 6:15.
Close.
7 square feet. Look there. 7 square feet over. Because this is 27. This is approximately 13 or 2 feet short of this one. 26 is 27, 53 out there. These are 12 out there.
All right, next new application that we'll review is 25 Old State Route 142.
Hello.
Hello, come on up and give us a brief overview of your project, please, and then we're going to go through your application.
I'm Michael Colby, just moved to the neighborhood, we just purchased 25 Old State Road.
Welcome.
Thank you. We basically just want to put a greenhouse in to grow our own food as much as we possibly can, and use it for educational purposes, we want more children. The issue is our property is kind of like an island shape, and the building department informed me that we have 2 front lines. We don't have a front line or back line, and side line. And the requirements for 2 front lines would make it so that we, at the fire greenhouse, we would make it possible, basically. And the proposal I made, I changed the dimensions that, I don't know if you changed. it in the
Yeah, I did.
application, So 16 foot wide by 84 foot long, which then keeps us in the accessory structure requirements under 1,500 square feet. So really the only thing we're requesting is a variance off of one of our front lines. That makes sense.
Sure. Okay. So we're gonna look at Old Route 142 as the front, or say that that is the front, if I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, that's one of the fronts,
Right, right.
and then the other front would be
Great.
Route 142.
Okay. So then what is required is 70 feet and you're proposing 28 feet.
Yeah, now that I changed the dimensions to 16 instead of 24, yes.
And so just in the application on the front page, we'll note that the zoning district is R25. And these weren't filled out, but maybe we can walk through it. So the existing front, rear, and left, right setback and proposed. So we'll leave it proposed.
I think they were a couple of pages back. I might have, in that one table maybe.
Okay. All right, let's do it. Okay, so then in that chart of values, let's say that the front setback is Route 142, where it was required 70 feet, and what's being proposed is 80. And then the rear setback, the second front setback, which would be Old 142. It says required 25, proposed 20, no, 70, is that what that was?
No, you're in the rear setback.
Right,
That's the rear setback.
okay, got it. It was required 25, and it's proposed.
I put the line down there for old because there's two front
Two
setbacks.
fronts.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, there technically isn't a rear,
There is not a rear,
that's two fronts.
so what's the 25? What's the rear, it says rear setback 25, and
Because one is old 142.
There
I
shouldn't
don't
be,
understand.
yeah, there shouldn't be anything there, is that what you're saying?
So you have the one setback, which is the front is 142.
Yeah.
And then the rear is the other front, but it's
Right.
actually.
The old Route
142.
Yeah, we're
142.
looking at this thing here, and it has.
Yeah, that was,
This should be front setback. That's why he wrote 142.
No, I would.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then there should be another one. The rear is old 142.
It's
yeah,
not a
rear is,
rear.
but it's actually a
Rear,
front
so there's
setback
no-
because it's,
But it says 25, and it's not 25.
they, when they had a discussion, we determined that old 142 would also be a front setback.
When I made the proposal, I wasn't aware, I had no awareness. of the
Okay,
front
so
setback.
that one should be like, nothing should be in there. because
Correct.
there's no rear setback. Right. And then there's only one side setback?
There's only one side setback, it's hundreds of feet away, so I didn't even actually measure it. I
It's
figured it was-
required 15, so it's 200 plus.
Yes. And with, go ahead, I'm sorry. Oh. And with those clarifications, if there are no other questions or comments from the zoning board members, I would state that this application appears complete for the purpose of holding a public hearing, which will be in March 18th at 6:30. Yes. Right. And do you give the members of the zoning board permission to visit the site?
Yeah, the only thing I would request is notification ahead of time. We just have to be bored, and so surprise visitors are not a good idea.
Sure.
So call me, make sure I can confirm what time to meet, but I'd love to actually show you. So
So this phone number on here is the one that you do check?
the 698 number.
Yes. Good, thank you very much. I'll see you next one.
Cool. Reach out. You should.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, next we have the corner of New York 7 and Carrollsboro Road, seeking area variance. The applicant like to come up and kind of give us a brief overview. Do we have any questions or asking? Hello.
My name's Justin Haas. I just want to put in a self-storage facility. Just got the setback is a little big for the square footage of the lot, so. That's where we're at.
All right, so it looks like two area variances, a front, which requires 75 feet, and what's being proposed is 48.
Yep.
And then a rear required 50, proposed 30.
Right.
And I do want to note for the record that the seller, Charles Farrell, grants permission to the purchaser, Justin House, to submit a zoning area variance at the following address. 3 Highway 7, Brunswick, New York. So this is a business light overlay district. So in the application, for the setbacks to the right, the question whether or not you're proposing 50 feet or 37 feet.
The engineer was under the assumption it was 50,
Uh-huh.
but it's apparently 25, so we're not even going to approach on the right. Because the first building is 42, the retention pond is 37.
Okay.
So the right side setback, the requirement is 25? Is that what it's said?
And me and the engineer, I told him to draw it under 50 with it, you know, and when I brought this stuff in, we found out it was 25.
No, according to the application, it's required is 50. Yeah. So is a side setback 50 and you're asking for 42? So that would be another area variance if that's correct.
Well, we have 2 fronts, a back, and a right side.
That you're requesting a variance for. Is
It
that right?
shouldn't be on the right, because I was just told it was 25, they showed me the numbers.
Look at the numbers. Okay, so the application does not reflect that. Let's see.
Mike's looking at it right now.
Yeah, it is 25.
It is what?
25.
25, okay.
25 for the right side? is the required.
So I'm gonna make that correction in the
Maybe either
back.
And so then what do you
It'd be either
propose?
side, right? Or no, you got two.
We're gonna be
Yeah, you gotta have a
42.
total of 50, but he's got two fronts.
Oh, so that
Oh,
should be
this current
changed to
bill, okay.
42.
So the right side.
Right. Are you guys getting that now?
Yes.
Okay. So in that value chart, with your proposed and the required, we have a few corrections. So it's a side setback, right? Side setback. Right now it reads required 50, proposed
Double click.
50. But what's required is 25, and what's being proposed is 42.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, it is 25.
So there's 3 acres there. But you're not using all of the acreage?
Well, the retention pond, DOT's requesting is huge. So that's taking up that 75-foot setback on the left. It's taking up 3/4 of an acre.
Where's the retention pond? Oh,
Looks
I
like a
thought it was
building.
one of the buildings.
No, that retention's about bigger than a building.
Speaking of the retention pond, what factors were considered when you're determining the size of that?
The runoff from the roof, the pavement, and DOT's requirements. I think they came up with 50-something thousand square footage of retention or something. So we drew it to that and then sent it to DOT and they accepted it.
Just to confirm, so DOT has a formula for what
Yeah,
the size
for
is.
the roof runoff, the blacktop runoff, per 100-year flood plain. Actually, DOT took a month just to do that, folks. Unbelievable.
On the site plan drawing, what do the shaded areas represent? So what surface will be here? Is this pavement, is this concrete, is
It's
this
blacktop.
black?
It's not gonna go in front of the retention pond like that, though.
Right, that's what yeah. What do you propose to go in front of the retention pond, between retention pond and the right of way?
Just grates. And we're gonna put a fence around the retention pond. Which amazingly ain't even, code, right? You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's a 10-foot length out there, we got to put a fence around it.
I think so. I'm even thinking guardrails, what do you think? Because what is that distance? What is the distance from the retention, the edge of the retention pond going on the west side to the road or to the right of way?
Guessing somewhere around 60 feet.
60?
I'm guessing because the distance from the building to his property line is 48. I don't see a scale on here, but it's close.
You got a huge culvert out front there. I bet you. You got a 10-foot deep culvert, and then the lane goes up another. I had the topo.
But that's bermed anyway, the retention pond. Is it bermed and then,
Yeah.
So there'll be a berm to the retention pond on the west side,
Well, yeah.
and then in addition to the fence. So
We
there'll
want
be,
to hold the water for the culvert.
So I believe the topography is a gradual slope upward to the east. So will there be some excavation to create that retention pond?
Yeah, we gotta, we gotta dig it up.
So this is like a two-fold question, or kind of like two backends as to why I'm asking this question. One is the zoning board, so not only do we deal with numbers, as you see in your application, the application before you, we also have standards to go through. And one of the standards in particular is asking how it will not be an adverse effect on the physical or environmental condition of a neighborhood or district. And in our comprehensive plan, we're asked to consider in the site planning process to give consideration to the size and character of new commercial establishments, and to ensure that the building appearance, signage, and lighting is compatible with the neighborhood, the surrounding area. So that brings up two questions that I have for the zoning board, would be the signage and the lighting, and three would be the landscaping. None of which have been provided in this application. So some applicants will say, well, I don't own this yet, I'm just kind of testing the waters, I don't want to invest too much money in the plans. But other applicants will provide a landscaping design, the signage, and the lighting, what kind of lighting, dark sky lighting, downward facing lighting. So where do you fall in that spectrum?
Like you said, we didn't want to put a ton of money on engineering and designing yet. But along the building has all solar lighting, goes every other bay. I own another place in Troy. We do solar lighting on the building, so it lights up at night. Every other bay gets lit up all the way up and down both sides. Then the fence around the retention pond.
So that solar lighting is on all night long?
Yeah.
To your establishment in Troy, when do the customers have access to the storage units?
7 days a week, about 8 to 8.
Yeah. Generally, in the past, what the zoning board has done has required businesses to have lights on during their hours of operation. So I don't, with a facility like this, I don't know if you could do like motion detector lights or lights that, turn off at 8 o'clock when.
Well, the solar is motion. They also turn on, they stay on low, and then when there's motion, they click the high.
Right.
As the car goes down that lane, it click, 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 they light right up.
Right. Yeah, what you would need during the winter months when it gets dark earlier. And how about landscaping? What kind of landscaping do you see in particular on the west side of the project between the proposed pond and the highway?
One side?
What
Front
kind
side?
Yeah, the front
Room
side.
7? Propose probably just putting up some trees.
Mhm. Yeah.
My wife wants to put a fountain in the pond, but I don't want it.
That would be attractive.
That's what she said.
Right.
Looks like it's holding a fountain.
Right.
Come on, woman, what are you trying to do?
Is your other facility in Troy similar to this in the layout? So if we wanted to go look at it to get a
Yeah,
sense of what it would look like?
Yep, this one will have a power gate on it. Obviously, nobody can just go in and out, and they have to have a code in and keep paving, holding it in, and they get locked out on that.
And the only entrance is going to be off Carroll's Grove.
Entrance off Carroll's Grove, and that's why we left the 75-foot setback on the right side, so you have a ton of parking, so you can never bottle up on Carroll. you know.
And the small strip of property on the rear side, that's owned by Judy O'Brien, is that right? It looks like it's like a frontage, to give her frontage to Carroll's Grove Road. Is that your rear neighbor?
It's on the list in there, actually. Maybe that was-
And is that a driveway?
Carroll Road,
Off of Carroll's Grove,
Yeah.
right behind you.
it's already actually stoned now. I guess Sparrow was gonna go in that way when he did it, he already stoned it once.
And where it says revised property line,
Yeah.
that was property that you gave to the Barber Trust?
I believe Farrell granted them that 58 feet before they went for the last stoning. I don't know why.
But that's already been accomplished, because that might take care of some of your setbacks. That's already been approved as a
That's
setback
already done and gone. yeah.
change.
I had the
Planning board.
surveyor go back out and stake the corners and that showed it.
Okay.
Over, yeah.
Are there any questions at this time? No? All right. So it looks like the application is complete for the purpose of holding a public hearing, which will be in March 18th, and it'll be 6:45 p.m. So the neighbors that you indicated on this application will be notified of the public hearing, and they'll have the opportunity to come and speak for or against it at the time.
Okay.
If you have any questions in the meantime, please contact the building department.
Well,
All right, have a good night. Thank you.
thank you.
Are there any other items of new business that you would like to bring up at this time? Otherwise, I would need a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Motion adjourned.
Thank you. And member second. Thanks, Darrell. All in favor? All
Aye.
right. Thank you very much. Good night.
Michael, you off?
Not yet.